Hey everyone, I have been needing a powerful PC, something that could handle both my gaming session and my creative work like video editing and 3D modeling. So instead of buying a pre-built one, I thought, why not build it myself? The truth is, I had zero experience. I was nervous, didn't even know where to start, but the idea stuck in my head. After a couple of weeks of research, watching builds, reading specs and comparing parts, I finally decided to do it. I picked all the components myself: the CPU, GPU, motherboard, case, cooler, PCU, RAM and storage. Every piece chosen carefully to match both performance and my black and white theme, and most importantly, my budget. So this is my first custom PC build, a project made with no experience, just curiosity and a bit of courage. Let's jump in and see how it all came together, starting with the motherboard unboxing and preparation. This is ASUS TUF Gaming B650 plus Wi-Fi, and it's going to be the heart of my system. The box itself feels premium, solid, simple and perfectly in line with my black and white theme. Inside, everything's packed neatly. The first thing you see, the motherboard itself, sealed in a plastic cover. I will put it aside for a moment. Underneath, there is paperwork, a quick start guide, warranty cards and a few booklets. The usual things you will probably never read, but I still keep them aside, just in case. And beneath those, the small extras: SATA cables, Wi-Fi antennas, screws, and a few ASUS stickers. Nothing flashy, but everything you actually need to get started. And here it is. I will take out carefully, still in its anti-static pack. The moment every first-time builder feels just a little nervous about. Now let's take a closer look. The design is really clean, a matte black PCB, dark grey armor plates and those subtle yellow accents that give it that tough look. It's built solid with reinforced PCI Express slots and thick heatsinks covering the VRMs. Over here you can see the AM5 socket ready for my Ryzen 9800X3D and two M.2 slots for fast NVMe storage. The rear I/O is pre-installed. This is the back of the PC with plenty USB ports, Wi-Fi antennas, HDMI and even 2.5 gig Ethernet. For me, this motherboard checks every box: performance, durability and aesthetics. Now that the base is ready, it's time to prepare it for the CPU and start bringing this build to life. Next, it's time for CPU, the brain of this entire build. I'm using the AMD Ryzen 7 series 9800X3D, one of the best CPUs for gaming and creative work. Inside, just a processor, small, simple, but incredibly powerful. Installing it looks intimidating, but it's all about precision. Gently left the retention arm on the M5 socket. align the small gold triangle on the corner of CPU with matching mark on the socket, and place it carefully in position. No force, it just drops into place. Then lower the arm and lock it down. That's it, the CPU is installed. A small step, but one that brings this build to life. For memory, I'm using two Kingston Fury Beast DDR5 6000 MHz CL36 16GB. Fast, reliable and clean in design. I'm installing two sticks on slot 2 and 4 to enable dual channel performance. Just line up the notch with the slot, press down evenly until you hear the satisfying click. I always double check both are seated firmly. I am using a Western Digital Black 2TB M.2 NVMe drive, super fast and minimal in size. Just slide it in gently, press it down and secure it with a small mounting screw including with the board. Put the screws back and that's it, storage installed. It always feels rewarding when these smaller parts come together, each one completing another layer of the system. With CPU, memory and the storage in place, the foundation of this build is ready for cooling and power. Next, it's time for the PC case, the frame that brings everything together. I'm using the NZXT HH Flow RGB compact dual chamber design with a clean black layout. Unboxing this case wasn't easy. I had limited space, one hand holding the phone and the other trying to get everything out carefully. Still, I managed to capture a few good angles, the front glass, side panels and overall airflow design. It's one of my favorite designs minimal, modern, and perfect for clean builds. Inside the back chamber, tucked in the hard drive cage, there is a small cardboard box. It's not a component, it's an accessory kit that NZXT includes with the case. Inside you'll find all the mounting screws, cable ties, and brackets you will need later in the build. NZXT dual RGB fans, powerful airflow, and beautiful lighting. The fans are connected together with a glowing RGB line from both sides, a small detail that adds a lot of style. Installation was simple. Secure them at the bottom, align the cables neatly, and make sure the airflow direction is correct. The duo fans come with a single SATA power cable, which splits into one RGB and one PWM header at the other end, which then goes to the controller. With the bottom fans installed, it's time to mount the motherboard. I gently place the ASUS TUF Gaming inside the case, aligning it with the standoffs. Once everything is lined up, a few screws in place and it sits perfectly. It's always a satisfying moment when the heart of the system finally meets its home. For exhaust, I added an extra NZXT 120mm RGB fan at the back. It matches the pre-installed front fans perfectly, keeping the whole look consistent. A quick install, 4 screws, and it's ready to move here out of the system. Next, it's time for the essential case connections, the cables that link the front panel to the motherboard. And remember, the best source of information is always the user guide, especially when you are dealing with these small connectors. From the case, there are 4 cables. The front panel connector for the power button and LEDs, the HD audio cable for the headphone and mic ports, the USB header for the front USB-A ports, and the USB-C cable for the front Type-C port. Each one fits only one way. Align the notches carefully and press gently into the place. I started with the USB 3 and USB-C cables on the mid-right side of the board, then connected the front panel header at the bottom right corner, and finally plugged in the HD audio cable at the bottom left. There will be a lot of cables later, but getting these small ones neatly organized now keeps everything clean and easy to follow. To control all the fans and lighting, I'm using the NZXT fan controller. It has 6 RGB headers, enough for all 6 NZXT fans, and 3 PWM headers for power and speed control. I use PWM splitters for 3 pre-installed front fans and connected the rest directly to the controller. The fan connection might look complicated, but here's how I manage them. For the 3 front fans, 3 PWM cables are combined through a splitter into one header that goes to the controller, while their RGB cables connect individually to the controller's RGB headers. Then there is the dual RGB fan at the bottom. It's powered by a SATA cable that it splits into one RGB and one PWM connector, both going into the controller. Next to it, the rear 120mm fan also has one RGB and one PWM cable, each plugged directly into the controller. Finally, one USB cable from the controller connected to the motherboard, allowing NZXT COM software to control all going effects and fan speeds. I made sure each fan cable had enough slack and was tied down cleanly. Each connection went into its dedicated channel, neat and organized. With the fans, power cable and motherboard in place, the case is ready for the next big step, installing the AIO cooler. Since I lost the unboxing clips, here's a short look at the Blackstorm Luna Pro 360mm ARGB. A sleek, all-black liquid cooler with ARGB fan blades and a compact pump block. It's a 360mm AIO design to keep my CPU cool and quiet, while fitting perfectly into my black and white theme. I mounted the radiator on the top of the case. This layout helps exhaust warm air efficiently and keeps airflow balanced. First, I installed the fans one by one, making sure they were facing the correct direction, air blowing outward through the top. Using the supplied long screws, I carefully aligned each of the fan with the radiator holes, tightened them gradually in a cross pattern, and double checked that the airflow direction matched across all 3 fans. After the fans were secured, I placed the radiator at the top of the case and fixed it in position. The hoses faced downward, reducing tension and giving a cleaner layout. Once everything was mounted, I routed the fan and pump cables neatly toward the back chamber, keeping the top area open and organized. Time to mount the CPU block and pump. The Luna Pro 360mm comes with both Intel and AMD mounting kits. For this build, I used the AMD brackets, which attach directly to the existing backplate. I removed the protective film from the amp's cold plate and applied a pea-sized drop of thermal paste in the center of the CPU. Secured it gradually using the two thumb screws. The pump power cable connects to the AIO pump header on the motherboard, while the RGB connector goes to the RGB header. Unfortunately, I couldn't connect these fans to my NZXT controller, so I figured the lighting directly through the motherboard's AuraSync software instead. Standoffs. With the AIO installed and connected, the cooling system is complete. Next, it's time for the power supply, the part that brings energy to everything else. I'm using the ASUS TUF Gaming 1000 watt ATX, a fully modular and high efficiency power supply that matches perfectly with my motherboard. Inside the box you get the main PCU unit, a thick braided power cable and a full set of modular cables neatly packed in a pouch. I also like that ASUS include a few extra cable ties and mounting screws, the small things that they make the build a bit cleaner. It's time to connect the main cables that bring life to the entire system. The first and largest cable is the 24-pin ATX connector, which powers the motherboard itself. It connects directly from PCU's main output to the 24-pin header on the right side of the motherboard. Next is the 8-pin CPU power cable, which goes from the PCU to the top left of the motherboard. This provides dedicated, stable power to the processor. For the graphics card, I connected a PCIe 6 plus 2-pin cable. This powers the GPU directly from the PCU, ensuring it gets the wattage it needs for gaming and rendering. Finally, a SATA power cable splits into 3 heads. I use one connector for NZXT fan and RGB controller, and another for my old 1TB hard drive from my previous PC. Even though it looks like a lot of connections, keeping each cable labeled and routed neatly makes troubleshooting and future upgrade much easier. I installed the PCU at the back of the PC on the top of the hard disk chamber with fan facing backward for fresh air intake. After sliding it in, I secured it with 4 screws at the back of the case. Once it was in place, I started routing the main power cables through empty channels. I made sure to leave a bit of slack for each cable so they aren't pulled tight when the side panel closes. With the power supply in place and all the main cables ready, the system is one step closer to coming alive. Next step is the GPU installation and final connection before the first boot. Now it's time for one of the most exciting parts, the graphics card. I'm using the Sapphire RX 9070 XT Pulse, a powerful card built for both gaming and creative work. The box design is bold but clean, and inside, the GPU sits securely in protective foam. Underneath you'll find a few booklets, quick start, warranty, and that's about it. Taking out for the first time, you can really feel the solid build, the fan cooler, the red accents, and the heavy metal backplate. It's one of those parts that immediately look premium, even before it's installed. Before installing the GPU, I needed to prepare the case. I removed the 2 metal PCIe slot plates from the rear of the case, which makes space for the GPU outputs. Next, I double checked that the PCIe slot latch on the motherboard was open and ready. This ensures the card seats correctly when installed. Now for the main event, installing the graphics card. Holding it by the edges, I aligned the golden PCIe connector with the top 16 slot on the motherboard, then pressed it down gently until it clicked into the place. Once secured, I used 2 screws to fasten the card's bracket to the case. Because this GPU is quite large and heavy, I also added a support bracket beneath it. This keeps the card level and prevents sag over time. After tightening everything, the GPU sat firmly in place, perfectly aligned and supported. From the PCU, I routed the PCIe 6 Plus pin cable and connected directly to the GPU's power cord. I always make sure there's a bit of slack in the cable, not too tight, to keep tension off the connector. After that, I tied down the cable neatly behind the motherboard tray, keeping the visible area clean and consistent with the rest of the build. With the GPU installed and powered, the system finally looks complete. For the first time, it's ready to be powered on. Now it's time to bring one more piece into this build, my old drive. I started by removing the hard drive chamber from the lower section of the case. Then I placed the 1TB Western Digital blue hard disk inside the mount, aligned it properly and secured it with the screws that came with the case. Once the drive was locked in, I slid the entire chamber back into its position. Make sure it fit snugly and aligned with the case frame. At the back of the case, I connected the SATA data cable to the motherboard and the SATA power cable from the PCU. Both click in easily. Just make sure to align the L-shaped connectors properly. With that, all main components were finally installed and ready. After checking all cables and connections one last time, I switched on the power for the very first time. Seeing the fans spin up, the lights glow, and the screen come alive, it's that moment you realize everything you work on finally comes together. The system booted perfectly, and I went through a quick Windows setup to get everything running smoothly. To finish it off, I jumped into a quick gameplay session, the same way I started this video, and everything ran beautifully. Even though this was my first ever PC build, I never ran into any major problems. The biggest reason, I took my time. I learned how each part worked before installing it, and I stayed patient through the entire process. So if you're building your first PC, take it slow, stay curious, and enjoy the process. It's not just about assembling parts, it's about building something that's completely your own.